What's good, Black family? You live with Q Butter. We in the building. XyayX the movement. Black power all the time, every time. We here with Knowledge Porn. Let's get it.
Yes, family. Peace and Black Power. Welcome to another episode of Voices of the Diaspora News. We got the man, the myth, the legend in the building. He's changing lives, hearts, and families, and revolutionizing the homeschool experience, physically and virtually, with students all over the world. So it becomes an honor and privilege at this time to introduce something to others, and welcome to Voices of the Diaspora News. Our brother Q Butter in the building. Brooklyn in the house.
Brooklyn in the building. Was goody? Knowledge Born. Black power was goody.
Black power every hour, man. Glad to have you here. Doing this story on Black homeschools, homeschool co-ops, private charter, and the revolution that's taking place via the exodus of Black families leaving the public school system and practicing what I deemed educational sovereignty. So your expertise in this field, in arena, you've given us one of the greatest STEM factories on the planet, one of many. So let's talk early motivations, early conception, and your transition yourself to the vision and the mission of XyayX Institute.
Let's see. Started with my parents and my experience within the public school system was very impactful on my life, you know what I mean, and many memories. I would say for me, the unfortunate fact for me, I did, and that's not for everybody, but I did graduate on Rikers Island. I did get in a lot of trouble in high school, and I was highly influenced by the social aspect of public school and the lack of leadership. I kind of like had an issue with my pops sending me to public school because I felt like I learned everything from him. And when I got to public school, it was like it was really like to go learn to be in the lion's den. That's how he used to tell it. Be like, you go to school to learn how to socialize with people. You want to learn, go to the libraries. I was like, why don't you just take me to the library? And I learned how to socialize. You know, I became Brooklyn. It taught me I definitely how to be hood and how to survive in the hood and be around people in the hood. And that's what I took on. And I like many other people, unfortunately, being influenced by your peers and being in a setting that didn't resonate with a cultural pedagogy that aligned with what I heard at home. You know, there was professors, you know, white professors and Asian professors who definitely, you know, taught from a place of care. However, it culturally didn't resonate with me. And for many students, Black students and other, you know, it doesn't. And so for me, these early concepts had already led me to like, yo, if I had a school, I'd do this. If I was doing that, I'd do this. And of course, I never wanted to put my children in public school. So that all kind of cultivated together when I had my children. And I'm like, I'm going to homeschool my children. And I was doing events called Educating Us in the community. And through those events, I started to talk to people about homeschooling and the space I had in Brooklyn and Brownsville for my music studio. I had acquired a little bit more space in this facility. And I was like, I'm going to dedicate a portion of it to our homeschooling program. And I was like, you know, we already had XyayX Studios. Everybody knows me for XyayX Multimedia. XyayX the Movement was like the very first concept of XyayX was like XyayX the Movement before anything was birthed. And so that's always been floating around. So I was like, you know what, why don't we just call this the XyayX Institute? And, you know, I looked at the laws. I'm like, I'm not going to say school. I want to make this for Black kids. I want to do all these different things. And then kind of put a video on YouTube or on Facebook rather. And people started hitting me up, supporting, and you know, a couple of interviews, and you know, people started hitting me up from all over the country, and it kind of just kept going from there.
So what was your experience like, you and your family coming together and finally making a decision, and the first couple of students? Was the curriculum already set? Like what, walk us through some of that initial behind the scenes. We seen what was out in the public. So what was behind the scenes, emotionally, spiritually, whatever the case may be, in regards to something that was in your mind conceptually actually coming to fruition?
Well, I would say curriculum wise, it's a journey. And I think that should be for everybody. Like if you're really vested into it, it's a continuous journey developing the curriculum. The At the beginning, I was, very centered on this like black philosophical thought, black ideological thought. And I believe some of the early classes were aligned with that. But that was kind of all over the place. And then picking up African centered curriculums from different areas, they were kind of like everybody kind of do their own thing. And there's no there's no running. Like there's people who have a dominant or a great presence in the community, and so people lean toward what they organize and what they have put together. And so once I started kind of gathering that, I was like, all right, I'm just going to take from people's stuff and try to see how I want to organize my own. And I'm an audio engineer. I went to Grady. I was a mechanic, and I'm good with my hands and building stuff. And like I always knew, like, all right, if I would have had a better, my high school experience is weird. Like leadership, the thing, I wouldn't have gotten the same trouble with me. You know what I mean? And I knew the public school system put me in a bad space, or rather, I put myself in a bad space. And then the things I did in that type of environment wasn't conducive, and I just got into trouble I got into. Had I been my teacher in my type of space with a student who did the same thing as me, first of all, my student wouldn't have even wanted to do the same thing as me because they wouldn't have felt that way. And then the leadership for Black males and Black children in the building culturally needs to align. And so there was that early component with the curriculum. Like, how do we reach our people, and what are we reaching our people to do, and what do we want them to be aligned with? And so the STEM component was always there. Like, all right, I want to infuse STEM into the curriculum. And my proclivity for like science and math, it was like, all right, I want to definitely incorporate this into the conversation. Being from Brooklyn, there's a lot of culture, and I'm not the most, as much as I will state a cultural based pedagogy, I'm not that type of person. You know what I mean? Like being an old 5%er, an atheist now is just like I'm kind of, I don't really celebrate anything, but it made it easier for me because it was like I'm open to what's good for the community. And so that was also part of it, understanding the calendar. What do we want to celebrate? How do we want to communicate? Understanding the cultural undertones in our community, the ideological differences within our community. When people say the school system's teaching us lies, there's a whole lot of different truths in the community. And so you have Ivan Van Sertima camps, you have NOI camps, you have Black theology camps. There's a whole group of the Black theology group is huge. I don't fall in alignment with the Black theological group, and most of the community, the conscious community, is aligned with Black theological thought. And then the anti-science community within the conscious and African-centered community is very large as well, in many different ways. That was a challenge. I'm very much about science, and so just hearing like there's people that don't mess with evolution, there's people that don't mess with gravity, there's people that don't. I'm like, I don't. This is not conducive for competition in the community. I don't. There's people and I'm talking about people that came to me with different star charts. They're like, yo, Q, you should have the kids learn this special star chart. I'm like, yo, bro, I went to school for astrophysics. Like, you just can't walk up on me and tell me that gravity's fake. What is it? We need to introduce a alternative star chart. You know what I'm saying? Like, or we've been here since the beginning of time. Like, these things is. So I also recognize that I started to become like, in certain conversations, like a stopping stone, for certain conversations where it's like, it sounds good over there, but what are we actually stating in terms of like reality? Just the other day, one of the parents, we were doing a class and we are having a discussion with the students, and we was actually giving the students an assessment. And one of the questions was just like, these are like fourth graders, and like, yo, who are the first 3 presidents of America? And the person was like, that's a lie. The first president was Black. And I'm like, and the brother who answered was like, look, we want the students to pass the AP exam. Like, that's the reality. And so they pass the AP exam. This is the answer you have to put. Now, we can have a conversation about how you may feel about who and when these people were in the conversation. But to pass this particular exam, we need to have that. And those type of conversations were definitely involved in much of the discussions on curriculum, who and then how to celebrate people, what readings to actually go through, what standards to align with. Oftentimes people say they don't align with the government. The government and the Board of Ed, it's crazy. I've learned so much in different views now. So it's a big circle of it. That's a part of it. You know, even now I can go into like right now, we are aligned with some of the top institutes in the country for communication purposes, for alignment of curriculum. Like, we're building an actual institution. There's going to be students who leave, and they need to be able to transfer to a regular school. And when that school calls you and says, so what is Black Liberation Thought 101? You know, they're like, what is this class? What is this? What is this other class? And it's like, no. And if you want to be respected, you have to do what's needed to be respected, and you have to communicate at an effective way. And so having a curriculum be something that's publicly able to be, you know, understood from other professionals and respected amongst professionals, that's also been the guiding parameters. That's like, we want to be in that space of it. So I'm extremely proud of where we are right now. And it's an evolving, you know, document, our curriculum and ideal views with education. Don't let me drift too much. Just tell me about your cue. Shut up, man. You know I can talk, man.
You good. I mean, it's perfect. It's eliminating some questions that I have to even ask. But just to backtrack a tiny bit, first graduation to present graduation. We talked about early enrollment, curriculum, challenges, navigating the waters, finding the happy medium for transferable type of situation, 1-to-1, 2-to-1 type of situation, and just your own evolution in regards to, you know, the initial vision, mission statement, and where it is now. But graduation to graduation, people leaving the institute at one way or another. What did it feel like for you? What did it feel like for the families that was involved? What did it feel like for the children? You know, more importantly, and how have you seen a change in the children navigating this process from the initial stages to now?
It's a process. We're making a lot of changes in terms of that conversation, because like I was just telling my students today, we want to be student driven, and I want students to want to come to this XyayX Institute. It's one thing, we got parents like what we offer, but a parent putting a child in our program and then the child not being happy, you know what I mean? That's what we want to know. We want them to be excited and motivated that this is what we have and what we're bringing to the table. And it's not easy. You know, we're underfunded. We don't have the funding. We don't get government grants. We have other programs that we want to get funded by whatever sources we can that we're sticking to. But the Institute, we want to keep the Institute as private as possible and keep it under the radar, so that way it can run the way it's been running and not have to worry about anybody trying to bother us in terms of what we do, and just be good at what we do and let the performance and the measurement, let the performance be the measurement. Let that be the conversation. Like, we have another student in college. Oh, we got 4 more students in college. And this year, we should have 2 17-year-olds going in. And then following that, we should literally, our graduating year is 17. Like all the students leave a year early coming to our program. You give us you put your child in our program at junior high school earlier than that, we guarantee college at 17 with certifications and skills that are needed for sustainability in the Black community. That was something else that was a huge conversation for me. It was like, we can't sustain ourselves playing drums, walking around with dashikis and changing our names. That's not what we need. We need to be able to state that as Pan-Africans, we produced 10,000 nurses. We produced 10,000 engineers. We produced 10,000 chemical analysts that can help us, the statisticians. We produce these people, these great minds that are making major impacts into the community. And then even down to African studies and social justice. We've changed our curriculum to be African studies and social justice. And just like you have Voices of the Diaspora, we're creating the Center for the Diasporic Studies at the Institute. And so we're reshaping the whole thing because we want the students to be a part of the action, not just the history. So we literally want the students to be like, look, you got to go out and do research, understand our issues, and not just making our issues be 300 years ago. We have rent stabilization issues, poverty issues. We have representation issues, resource issues. And these are things that they attribute, or rather afflict the children. And we need to find ways to connect these to the conversation right now. And so that's literally today's conversation with the students that's my focus this weekend on the curriculum, to revamp it just for that with them, so that way they can be doing research and understanding how policies affected their community, or what they could be doing to maintain our cultural imprint or sustain the cultural imprints that we currently have. What can we do in terms of equity, representation, or even how they can be a part of the furthering of reparations or the conversation of restorative justice. And so they need to see that they can be involved in it and then be involved in it, not just be told about it. So that's part of the ideas that we want to be, that we're ushering with our curriculum this year.
Something that I loved and I found profound, from the STEM dynamic, right, to the life skills department that you have. We grew up in a lot of cultural continuity spaces where we got real good philosophically, but very poor in the implementation practicality department. So the practicality meant that I could tell you a bunch of things that I learned and I could regurgitate them. Like, my baby can count from 1 to 10 and they're 1 year old. You understand what I'm saying? Oh, my son's a Hafiz, or my son knowledge 120 at 6 years old. You understand what I'm saying? So the spaces for that sponge that exists in regards to that, we don't do well beyond the parroting. We don't do well, beyond the parroting process. So one of the things I love, and I want to get your thoughts on, the motivation behind the practical application, the practical application department in the life skills department. You understand what I'm saying? Like, that was my biggest descent from school. School ain't prepare you for the neighborhood. You understand what I'm saying? You went to school with everybody in the neighborhood, blah, blah, blah. Like, the school didn't prepare you for the neighborhood. The neighborhood prepared you for the neighborhood. The school was supposed to prepare you for life. And it prepared you for them 4 walls that you was in. And once you went outside, somebody said, yo, what size is them shoes? My eldest brother's shoes?
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying? Like, yo, give me your bus card. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So
it's that class is a combination of a lot of the class, like ideas of like etiquette, communication, a little bit of business, a little bit of finance, situation analysis, awareness. All of those things go into that class. Home maintenance, just as much as we can give them, just to prepare them for what life will be like. It's hard to make it streamlined in a linear fashion because the students come from so many, the spectrum to which they come from is vast. And so it's kind of hard to approach it from a linear way. So we try to, but it's kind of challenging sometimes because some students never go to the hood. They don't even know what it means to be in the hood. So to tell them to watch their back in the way we understand watching our back in the hood, they're completely confused in it. Some students live in, like when I drive to certain cities, they don't walk in the street. So even the way we understand crossing the street, like my sons, I have to teach my sons. I remember my pops, somebody tried to pick my pocket when I was in Harlem at like 14 or 15 years old. And that's how I learned how to pick it out. And by the time I realized it, because the dude bumped my shoulder and I felt his hand go like this on my thigh, man, quick. And I was like, and I remember seeing it in a movie, like, yo, that's how you do it. You bump him. And then I was like, oh, he tried to get me. Like some situation analysis, like the kids in some of these areas in Georgia, they, even if you live in Atlanta, they don't walk outside like that. But we try to, as much as possible, put that into the conversation. True, some of the kids, because we service students all over the country. Some kids never been to parks. They just have backyards. Right? They're like, go to the park for what? I go to my yard, and then they go to areas where people pay to be around each other as kids, like little gaming houses and places. But like, it's different. Our kids in New York, they go to the park, they gotta get on the train. So we try to, and then the kids online sometimes they're like, wow, you got to worry about that. Our situation analysis in New York and awareness is totally different. Like you got to be on the train, homeless people, crackheads, fiends, druggies, dope heads, police, undercover police, gang members, all that's on the train at the same time, or the bus, or walking on the block, or walking out of a Target or a T-Mobile, or whatever. But again, that's the summary and purpose of the life skills class, is to try to prepare them as much as possible and be a reinforcement for what their parents want to have in terms of understanding of life, and not understanding of life, meaning skill sets needed for them to be able to function as an adult in life.
Wonderful. Now, some of the teachers, some of the people who've come on, like you stated a situation of being underfunded and privately funded. Now, what has to be the driving force for the teachers who come in and commit in the situation? What about some of your first teachers coming in? What was the draw? What was the interest? What was the curiosity? And then what's the sustaining aspect in regards to it?
Most of the first teachers were homeschooling parents, people that I met on the internet, on YouTube. Shout out to Sister Irene, Brother Buddha, Sister Stella. And in the last 2 years, I put I've always had a focus on STEM, but I've been like extremely diligent in pushing it, from creating the science fairs that we do biannually, STEM expos, promoting STEM content, like exclusively, like that really helped us connect more people. The brother I'm sitting here now, and I guess people recognize the mission and goal. Everybody needs to get paid, everybody needs to get money, but they also they're seeing the goal where like, we could really get somewhere if we push this. And if we can create a space for opportunity where there's other people to eat, offer their skill sets in the space. Like the brother I'm sitting with now, like he's just coming board and we're teaching. But we have the space here now where he can run his own program. If we can get grants for it, we can get grants for it. If parents can pay whatever they can pay on the weekend or whatever it is, either way, there's space now to do that. We didn't have that before. And so having these type of abilities to do that also offsets and creates a greater playing field for what we can accomplish or actually attempt with the teachers. But again, the teachers come from vast backgrounds. Brother GA, my brother Eric, we got Sister Kasha now, Brother Dot, that's my brother. He's been working with me for like 20 years with XyayX. Brother Don, Brother Damo. Yeah. We got a couple teachers, vast backgrounds, especially in STEM, CAD specialists, designers, electrical engineers, physical computing and software engineers, network engineer, and we just brought into the team. And that's bringing in Cisco certification for the students, and platforms like these, and giving them the skill sets and trying to keep focusing on industry aligned skill sets, because we're talking all this Pan-African Black Power stuff, and we got a bunch of people with dashikis and RBG flags who broke, who can't get a job. That ain't Black Power. You know what I mean? If we're not able to compete, and we begging white folks and every other community come set up our computers, come plug in our hard drives, come set up our tables, you know, we might as well put on some high heels and a wig, and you know what I mean, and just you know what I mean, hit the strip. You know what I mean?
That's real.
So
let's talk virtual and physical expansion. You know, what did it feel like to get that real surge to where you started off with a couple of students physically, and then an influx of students now K through 12, then a virtual influx, and then now a global sort of landscape in regards to something you envisioned in your mind, you know, for this time, actually seeing it coming into fruition and it being received from the physical to the virtual space.
I'll be honest, COVID got me gassed
Mm.
because everybody was leaving the school system. Luckily, I know what it is to go be in business and your business is popping, and then you get gassed, and then it deflates a little bit, or if it plateaus. And then what are you willing to do to get it to that next level? And so right now my mind is at let's get it to the next level. You know what I mean? Like everything to get to the next level, to get more students online. Like everything is an earn right now. I don't want to, there's no handouts. There's no, Black Lives Matter. You got all I don't want no handouts. Like I said, I want the students to want to come to XyayX. Like, it's cool having Black Power parents that want to put their kids in XyayX. No, I want kids to be like, yo, I heard about this school, bro. It's fire. They got trips to Africa. They get scholarships. You graduate early. You get certificates. You learn how to fly drones. And they got a dance club. Yo, they got a whole cosmetology program. Yo, they have this guest speakers. Yo, and they had Casanet speak at their graduation. Like, I want, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's how we get the, it ain't gonna work. With Black Power 101. Black man, white man is the devil 102. Shut up. You don't know what you're talking about, little coon. You know what I mean? Like, I want to be on that side of it. Like, we producing the best and they love us, and the future's going to look back on us like, damn, I appreciate y'all. Y'all did what y'all supposed to get me where I'm supposed to be at.
Right. So, one defining moment for you as a parent, as an educator, as a facilitator, and one for your school, one for your institute, and then, going forward, another defining moment or milestone that you envision in your mind that will happen for yourself, for the institute, for the students, and its future.
Mm. Mm. Defining moment, man. Our first day full time, we opened after somebody got shot in the leg in my studio.
Mm.
That was the first time somebody ever got shot in my studio. And literally, I went home, came back. I'm looking on the camera on my phone. There's police all in the building. And my boy called me like, yo, Q, somebody got shot in the studio. And I'm like, bro, I just left. We got class tomorrow in the school. Parents come in there, and everybody in Brooklyn heard what happened with the parents, and they all still showed up. And we told the police, I told the cop, like, this ain't gonna happen again. This was a fluke. I've been in business 20 years. Ain't nothing like this ever happened. And it ain't gonna happen again. it ain't gonna happen again. So yeah, this is a fluke. And please remove your vans. I don't need y'all to watch my spot because they got a mandatory police posting for victims or potential retaliation. I said no. Y'all need to go. I'm good. We good. And the parents, I'm like, look, the parents and the police were so confused because they're like, you got a music studio. They didn't even understand. They came down, they didn't know what it was. And then when they came upstairs, and it's funny because I got the footage of the cops running through the space, and then they go upstairs, and they're just confused. They're like, they're like, and they're just staring at all the walls, the projects, they're touching stuff. Yo, it's mad funny, bro. Then when I get there, they're like, they think we set it up. And I'm like, no, I ain't. Why would I set up somebody getting shot in my studio? I got class the next day. And I'm like, no, we going. So it was a whole crazy thing. And then they're there to the morning time. And then they're like, there's a school here? I'm like, yo, bro, this is a fluke. Like, this would have not happened if I would have been here. And yeah, they opened up the next day. The sergeant came, was like, he's never seen anything like this. And he asked the cops to leave. And we opened up the next day. And yeah, I got plenty of stories, but that was a crazy one. Another one, I guess, today was my son's birthday. Celebrating my son's birthday in a new location. His 16th birthday. Very proud of that. And yeah, there's a lot of little moments in there with students in college. Like we got another 2 students in college this year, 3 students in college. Seeing students, make connections and level themselves up. In this world, as a gorilla, and I think you understand. It's weird, survival and getting to the next day is a defining moment for me. Mm-hmm. Just one more day staying true to being a Pan-African, a Black nationalist, not changing XyayX and being true to the people is like, to me, that is it. You know what I mean? I got my son at 16 years old as a homeschooling dad, and he ain't been in public school, and he can compete. Right. You know what I mean? That's, yeah, you taught my son at City Tech, and you had students from other schools, and you saw my sons can compete with students from regular schools. And that was with Code Block. And I was upset with the level of performance they had. That's why I was talking to them yesterday about. I'm like, yo, bro, you should have been teaching that class. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, not to be mean, but come on, like, but yeah, they so that for me, that's everything. And then knowing that with everything being said, my son will be in college a year early, and he'll be studying engineering, and he'll be certified and be able to do a billion things better than I ever could have thought about doing at his age. And not just him, I was able to do that for him and other children around the country. You know what I mean? Like, that's, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know how much more. That was my issue with my pops. Like, you could have taught me, and you were smart enough to teach other people, but you didn't. So for me, that's like, at least I did that. You know what I'm saying? Once I get my 3 sons and they got to college and they were good, I'm like, see? And I did it with other people's kids. And I kept to myself. I could put my gold teeth on right now, and I'm still myself. I could show you my high school picture with gold teeth. Put my gold teeth on right. You already know, Dallas. You throw the gold teeth right. It's like, yeah, I'm still me, baby.
Right. So a final word to the students, to the future educators, to the future leaders, to the young Black minds out here with all of the madness going on. Why XyayX?
XyayX is a place to help you develop into the greatest version of you. We're not here to make you think a certain way. We're here to empower your ability to think, give you a greater ability to have vantage and perception and the skill sets to be able to carry yourself in any part of the world, whether it be computer animated design, high levels of mathematical understanding, your ability to communicate, your understanding of your history, your place in society, how society actually sees you, the conversations about you, the network of people around you, and the experience, of course, having Black teachers who are all dedicated to making sure that you have a robust education. And when I mean robust, we have a high-level CTE program that is AP aligned all the way through schools, means advanced placement. The students are introduced to high levels of STEM, at the highest level of STEM TT, electrical engineering, software engineering, computer engineering. We introduce you to as much as possible. We're research-based, opportunities in research. We have an environmental whole research program we got going on, automation technology, smart technology, publishing, help you get into publishing, advanced publishing at spaces for high schoolers in topics that are extremely competitive. These opportunities are not afforded typically to Black students. You don't even hear people telling you about research opportunities and what it means to have Black students in research, and putting you in spaces where you can compete, thrive, and actually plot out a future for yourself with these skill sets. And that's what I would like to be a part of your history of someone who contributed to the development of you for the future, to help you weaponize yourself for success. Should have did that with my gold teeth.
Honest to you, honest to your vision, you and your family, y'all doing it together as a family and helping other families grow closer with practical implementation and preparing them to be more competitive and success driven in the future. So I appreciate your time. I know you're still in the mix, and we're gonna see you on next time. Next time we have to clan it up. Get some of the clan on here. You understand what I'm saying? And let them tell their story their way.
I'm with it.
Support the movement.
I'm with it. Hell yeah.
All right.
Yo, good looks, knowledge. You already know, man. I appreciate you, man. We don't do this. We don't keep us alive. Nobody will. And you definitely have been somebody that keeps the conversation and the community together, man. I appreciate you for that. Give you your flowers, man. We need your voice, man. I want to talk about. Wait. We're going to have to talk about that. Now, I'm gonna say it online. I definitely would like to have you involved in our Center for African Diasporic Studies, and maybe some way to align with the media, and how students can use social media and platforms as a tool to create impact. And so we want them to understand that and see platforms like yours as where we're supposed to be supporting.
100%. I'll get with you right after we cut this off. So another episode of Voices of the Diaspora News. Tell somebody to tell somebody. Support XyayX, support the movement, and support our future. Peace.
We're here to talk to you about donating to the XyayX Institute and our movement's community programs. So far, with your support, we've been able to get RC cars, telescopes, microscopes, and self-defense materials. But we need your further support. We need a better location, more STEM tools, better computers. So we need your support to keep the program. So if you like what we got going on,